Hello and welcome to Illumination. I'm your host, Steph. Today we're going to journey back in time to meet the civilization that in many ways wrote the instruction manual for our world, and then was almost completely erased by the sands of time. We're talking about the architects of society itself. We are talking about Sumeria. Just take a moment and really try to picture that. A world where every idea, every discovery, every story, well, it dies with the person who conceived it. A world with no laws written down, no grand cities, no history to learn from. And yes, a world with no beer. Now I want you to hold that thought, because one civilization out of the dust of Mesopotamia gave us all of these things and so much more. To get a sense of just how truly foundational the Sumerians were, just look at this timeline. They were building their world in what is now southern Iraq a full 1,500 years before the first Egyptian pharaohs. They are, for all intents and purposes, the true ground zero of civilization as we know it. So let's dive into that blueprint they created. You know, this wasn't some slow, gradual change. It was a creative explosion, a torrent of ideas that fundamentally rewrote the human story. Let's start with the big one, writing. Before their invention of cuneiform, knowledge had an expiration date. It lasted only as long as human memory. But with writing, for the first time in history, an idea could outlive a person. And what was this revolutionary, world-changing tool first used for? Not for epic poems or philosophy, but for accounting. Yep, it seems the first order of business for civilization was business. And they didn't just stop there, not by a long shot. They gave us the wheel, which completely changed the meaning of distance and speed. They designed the first real cities, wrote the very first code of laws, and even developed the base 60 math system that we still use today for our 60-second minute. This wasn't just a list of cool inventions, they were building society's core operating system right from scratch. And just think about the sheer scale of their ambition. At its height, the city of Uruk was home to maybe 80,000 people. To put that in perspective, at that time, most of the world was living in tiny villages of just a few hundred. This wasn't just a large town, it was a sprawling metropolis, a feat of planning and organization on a level the world had never, ever seen. Which brings us back to beer. You see, this shows just how connected all their innovations were. They didn't just invent beer for parties. It was a key source of nutrition, it was often safer to drink than the local water, and it was even used as a form of currency to pay laborers. They literally had a goddess of beer. It was liquid civilization, a cornerstone of their entire society. It's an absolutely incredible story of human ingenuity. But every great light casts a shadow, and the story of Sumeria is no different. Because for all their brilliance, for all the gifts they gave us, the Sumerians also created the blueprint for some of humanity's most persistent and painful problems. This was the price of their progress. Their society was built on a very rigid pyramid. At the very top, you had priest kings who ruled what they claimed was divine authority. Below them, a small class of administrators and merchants. And at the bottom, holding it all up, was the vast majority, farmers and laborers. And then outside the system entirely were slaves. They weren't even considered people. They were property. The Sumerians invented many, many things, but social mobility was not one of them. They gave us the incredible concept of written law. This idea that justice could be objective and fair. A beautiful ideal. And yet, the reality on the ground was one of constant, brutal warfare between their city-states. They fought over land, over water, over who had the more powerful god. They invented the ideal of order while living in the reality of chaos. And these foundational flaws, well, they ran even deeper. Their entire civilization was quite literally powered by the forced labor of slaves. Their ingenious irrigation systems, the very thing that created so much agricultural wealth, slowly poisoned their own soil with salt, leading to eventual environmental collapse. And their greatest invention of all, writing, it became their greatest tool of control. And this right here is the great paradox of their legacy. The one invention that could have freed minds, that could have democratized knowledge for everyone, was instead hoarded. It was used to control people. History, laws, religion, all of it belonged to the tiny elite who could read and write, while the masses who built the ziggurats and farmed the fields remained in darkness. So, why does any of this matter to us now, 6,000 years later? Well, because Sumeria wasn't just another ancient civilization. It was the prototype. and we are still living inside the house they designed, flaws and all. You see, this was their prototype for how to do civilization, and you can see the echoes everywhere today. They showed us how to build great cities, creating incredible centers of culture, but also concentrating poverty and disease. They showed us how to record knowledge, creating history itself, but also creating secrets and information warfare. This isn't just their story, it's the first draft of our own. And that is the true, profound gift of their story. It isn't just history, it's a cautionary tale. They laid the foundation, the triumphs and the flaws. The challenge they leave for us thousands of years later is to learn from both sides of their legacy, to build it better. Which leaves us with one final, vital question to ponder. It's easy for us, with perfect hindsight, to look back and see their blind spots. But what are ours? What are the foundational flaws we are building into our world right now that will seem so glaringly obvious to the historians of the future? I'm Steph, and this has been Illumination. Because the purpose of history isn't just to see the past more clearly, but to see ourselves, here and now, more clearly in its light. Thank you for joining me.